On November 13, 2002, an oil tanker carrying more than 20 million gallons of oil was hit by a violent storm 150 miles off of the northwest coast of Spain, which caused an oil tank to be punctured and a 30 to 50-foot crack to appear in the hull. The crew was quickly airlifted off the ship, and 9 days later, on November 19th, the Prestige oil tanker split in two and began to sink. As of December 11, 2002, 30 to 40 tons of oil were leaking out of the wreck per day. The oil slick created from the spill was 8 kilometers long. Reports stated that 654 out of the 1,064 beaches on the Spanish Atlantic coast were affected by the spill in some way, and during the first 2 months, 65,000 to 130,000 birds were affected. Oil contains carbons like polyaromatic hydrocarbon that can significantly harm species. In salmon and flounder, it harms male reproductive development. In seabirds, it raises mortality rates and lowers the amount of hatching eggs. In marine worms, it causes a cease in the production of eggs and sperm, and in beluga whales, it has been linked to the development of tumors. Polyaromatic hydrocarbon can also lead to carcinogenic effects in fish and other animals up the food chain. The Prestige oil spill also had a significant impact on the people living in the affected areas. The spill put an estimated 1,000 fishermen on the coast out of work. Also, 915 kilometers of coastline were closed to fishing and shellfish gathering, which were the source of livelihood for 90,000 people. In response, the Spanish government has promised compensation for the fishermen's losses, and local authorities have pledged to give €30 a day to fishermen who are out of work. The London Steamship Owners Mutual Association set aside $25 million for compensation. The total amount of estimated damages to the Spanish coast amount to around €363 million, or $494 million. In response to the oil spill, many people rushed to provide help. Veterinarians and volunteers worked to rescue birds and other animals covered in oil, and soldiers and fishermen shoveled gummy oil off the coastline. The World Wildlife Fund and BirdLife teamed up to create rescue centers for birds affected by the spill. Unfortunately, a recent study has found that people who helped to clean up the oil spill now suffer from many health problems, including respiratory issues, vascular damage, and chromosomal damage. In an attempt to stop the oil leak still pouring from the sinking Prestige tanker, engineers used robots to seal off cracks in the ship. Oil was then removed from the ship by drilling small holes, pumping it into bags, and floating them up to the surface. After the spill, the Greek captain of the Prestige was taken into custody. On November 13, 2013, after a lengthy investigation, the captain, crew, and Spanish government were found not guilty in the oil spill. The investigators were able to prove that the disaster occurred because the ship was in poor condition, but weren't able to prove responsibility. However, the captain was found guilty of disobedience because he didn't listen to officials when they told him to steer the ship away from the coast, and as a result was sentenced to 9 months of suspended sentence.